The latest polling from Nanos research shows the Conservatives are chipping away at the Liberals' lead. Among decided voters surveyed from April 22nd to 24th, 42.7% supported the Liberals, 38.4% were backing the Conservatives, and the NDP have now dropped back to 8.3%. Mark Carney is the preferred Prime Minister for 46.2% of decided voters, a three-day drop of more than 1%. Pierre Poilievre sits at 34.7% and Jagmeet Singh gets support of 4.8% of voters. Let's talk more about the polls as we head into the final weekend of the campaign. Nanos Research and Chief Data Scientist Nick Nanos is here. So Nick, we've been seeing things tighten up in recent days. What's your take on that?
It's a mad dash, Ella, to the finish line for the two front runners. You know, the thing is that the Liberals have had upwards of a 10 or 11 point advantage in the campaign. We're in the closing days going into the last weekend, and that advantage is basically just a handful of percentage points, about 4 percentage points or thereabouts. And, you know, the other key thing, Ella, is the NDP still weak and down, the Bloc still down, the People's Party, which actually in the last election had garnered like 5%, are now down to 1%. So, you know, you can see basically a two-way race, a consolidation of focus on the two front runners. And, you know, what we're seeing at least is, you know, a tight race in terms of popular support. But Ella, we have to say, very important, that in the last two elections, the Conservatives won the popular support. Aaron O'Toole received more votes than Justin Trudeau. Andrew Scheer received more votes than Justin Trudeau. Neither were able to form a government because the thing is for the Conservatives, the distribution of their support is inefficient, not as good at converting into seats. So we might see a tightening of the race, but the big question is how it converts into seats in the House of Commons. The big question indeed, the all-important question. All right, Nick, let's talk about this weekend. What should we be watching for in terms of the leaders and the choices that they're making when they're campaigning? I would expect there'll be two key drivers to watch for when we see where the leaders go. First of all, seats that are in play that parties think that they can pick up. And second, seats that align with messaging. Right? So, you know, the thing is that, you know, if you're out in the West, you probably want to talk about taxes and energy and stuff like that. You know, I saw that Carney was in Algoma, probably talking about U.S. and aluminum and stuff like that. So think of Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney targeting the seats that they think that they're going to need to win. A lot of those had to do in Vancouver. I expect Jagmeet Singh to be in Vancouver, but also probably the other two parties to do a quick swing into the lower mainland of Vancouver, because, you know, the thing is that it's a tight race from a popular support perspective between the Conservatives and the Liberals. And depending on how both of those parties do, it'll be interesting to see who picks up seats, mostly at the expense of the Democrats in the lower mainland in Vancouver area and Vancouver Island. And then it's Ontario, because that's the big prize, Ella. You know, the thing is in Ontario, you know, those Mississauga, Bramptons, Oakvilles, those ridings there, usually they swing with whoever forms the government. So I would expect Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney to spend a little time in the GTA in the closing days of the campaign to try to pick up as many voters as they can in the closing hours of the election. No rest for the leaders as they head into this final stretch. Nanos Research founder and Chief Data Scientist Nick Nanos, thanks for joining us and thanks for your insights. Bye-bye.